Hello, welcome back. So this is a follow-on conversation with Tasha Salinas. We just spoke to her in episode 77, and we wanted to carry on the conversation about, well, she was telling us about the lovely talk that she did on Easter Sunday.
Yes, and Deb also said this show should be an hour. So here it is, kind of. Here's the next 30 minutes that should have been for you, Deb, as we bring onto the screen Tasha Salinas. And also to pick up on something that was mentioned, Christed consciousness, which I really would like to learn more about. Hi, Tasha.
Yeah,
good to see you again.
and also the idea of resurrection and what we might be resurrecting into.
Yes, at the time of recording here, we're just after the Easter weekend, which has been the most, well, it's been extraordinary, hasn't it? Easter is extraordinary anyway. That's the whole point of Easter, isn't it? But this was especially so, I think, in our time in history. Hi, Tasha, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. I'm very happy to be here and continue this conversation for sure.
So where do you want to dive in? Because we can easily take you off track.
and I can go off track. So the talk yesterday was entitled "The Return of Christ Consciousness," and so it was my story of my awakening into who I know myself to be as a conscious channel of divine energy. And yes, a channel by what I say, but then also just my expression, the way that I live. And as we know, and now we're calling it New Thought Spirituality, or however we want to refer to this, but what that simply means is that everything I think and I know about myself, my awareness, my consciousness has been Christed. And I spoke about how that happens. And what that means, like, easily is that I have allowed myself to heal as much as consciously possible. I'm still human. I'm still going to have ignorance and innocence, same coin, right? There's going to be opportunities to learn, but my consciousness is fully aware that I am part of everything and I have access to everything. And in so doing, I've allowed myself to heal to the innermost part. Okay. And I know that sounds like, whoa, what does that mean? Well, we come back to the minute and we know who we are. And we actually look at like how we feel. Is how we feel in alignment with what we think? Is our thinking in alignment with our feelings, right? Are we in alignment? How do we do that? We think about what we think about. We look at some of our automatic patterning and whatnot. And in doing so, and I'll come back to that. In so doing, we connect all and we align, we allow all of our energetic centers to be rotating, to be spinning in a healthy, progressive, regenerative direction. And that kind of builds. And so it builds up from our sense of safety to our sense of creativity, sexuality, like creationism, our identity, our heart, our expression, our ability to kind of see into the future, to have visions, to really understand and know which way our life is going. And then to consciously, through our connection to the divine, consciously create our reality based on that alignment and that higher dimensional information that is now flowing through our body, because of the work that we did of self-love. So self-awareness, self-love, self-compassion, self-gnosis. And that process is how our consciousness gets Christed. So when we talk about the return of Christ consciousness, we celebrate Easter. Jesus died. He was a human being. He died. And then he came again. And I believe we are meant to receive that as a metaphor and history at the same time. Yeah. There are things that have literally happened, like in our former show, one of the comments, yeah, that is the truth, but also it's metaphorical and energetic and spiritual, because this denotes this is literally what happened and this is what we're learning from it with our conscious understanding of the higher perspective. All that to say, Jesus died. But when we die continually to ourselves. We die to old ways of thinking, which creates a severance of the old way of being, which alchemizes and heals former lives that we once lived in this same body.
Yes.
And in so doing, we break generational curses.
Yes.
Yeah. And go ahead.
This is what you mean by healing, I take it.
Absolutely.
Because healing is an interesting word, isn't it? In terms of, being healed, being whole, wholesomeness. And I'm kind of minded to bring in the ideas of enlightenment and self-realization, because in this context, they appear to be the same thing, don't they? You have realized your essence as well in the self-healing, right? You're real being when you are being realized. If I know that sounds like nonsense, but
it does. It sounds perfect, because
right.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs,
Yeah.
we get through there. That tip top is self-actualization.
Yes,
And then above self-actualization is transcendence. You can't transcend something that you haven't seen and actualized.
Yes, absolutely.
So you push yourself to the ends of your earth.
Yeah.
And then that's where you find that you are everything.
Yes.
And that's
we
where
know
the
it,
Father
don't
is.
we?
And we know, yes.
We
and
know
the
it.
words,
We know it intellectually, and the realization of it, the actualization
embodiment.
of it, the making whole of it, is what brings that into the moment of our deepest being and our greatest impact potentially.
Yes. And irony of all ironies, I'm going to bring it up again in this talk and in one of our previous shows. I'm always continually brought back to the book of Revelation. A part of my story that I shared yesterday is that as a child, I was raised by a military mother, single mother in the military, and I lived all over the world. And because of trauma and because of life and history and stuff and things, we went from an unhealthy home life and trauma and all this stuff to church every Sunday, because that my mom did what she wanted, what she felt she needed to do. And it was great. I hated it, but I didn't like home. And so I stayed in that church building as many times as I could to see the Catholics, to see the Protestants, to see the and I was exposed to different faith traditions. And I started to see a lot of them are saying the same thing with different words. And trauma taught me how to dissociate, how to be present but not be present, to see things from a higher perspective. So Revelation, when we actually went to the Baptist Hellfire and Brimstone services. And in so doing, I would sit in the back, read Revelation, and I'm hearing, like, you're going to get left behind. If you don't accept Jesus as your savior, you're going to get burned for eternity in hell. And I was like, well, I don't want that. And then I'm reading in the Bible.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm reading the Bible and I'm like, I don't want this. So I just basically traumatized myself growing up. What I realized is as I allowed and as I healed and really fell accidentally into this being, and it's just remembering, it's my soul calling, but my mind is like, what's going on? My soul is like, trust me on this. We're going somewhere beautiful. And here we are. I'm brought back to Revelation. And as I read Revelation, we have the 7 churches that are in there. The book starts out, this is the revelation of the words of Jesus Christ. This is the revealing of what he meant. And there are 7 churches, and there are 7 seals, and there are 7 chakra that are contained in our body that we know. If we have more above us and below us, we're all united and connected. But the 7, as the revelation is spoken to the churches, it's speaking to every chakra in our system. Okay. You can connect that historically, however you want. All roads will kind of converge in the essence of this is the truth. And you can bring it Western words, Eastern words, whatever faith tradition you want to bring it. There's all an inner purification that's necessary. And purification requires a separating of what is pure and what is defiled. As we allow ourselves to heal, we heal the broken thoughts that we either inherited from society or that we were born with from our DNA, our generational curses. And just to be dramatic, I'll just say that my family of lineage believed in death. Oh, well, she died, and I'm 79, I'm about to die. If I decide to stop believing in death, and really believe in the eternal life that was taught to me and scared into me, but let's just say it was attainable, what would that require? That would require me stopping the generations that said I was going to die. Whatever. The flesh suit will pass on, but we now have transcended the over and hyper identification to the flesh suit called the body that does die. What doesn't die is our soul. And Jesus spoke of that. And now don't fight me on this, but when the body does die, there's 3 days that the soul and the body, there's a thing. And we're not going to go down that avenue, but there's something about those 3 days. And there's something we just love about a triune message, don't we?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
So anyway, there's something about 3. So then when we die, we allow ourselves to die to ourselves. Then what is resurrected? The one who's always been alive to begin with, the eternal. The you that started.
The thing that can't go anywhere. The thing that can't go anywhere.
The inner child, which is just a facet of God anyway. And if God is a big ass ball of fire, sorry I said it, but if it's a big ball of fire, let's just say the sun, And if every single thing is led by energy, a big ball of energy that we're staring at that actually feeds our earth, our bodies, every single thing, that is who we are. Like we are conscious. We are the light. We are enlightened. And as we're looking at what's going on with our big, beautiful star, and what are we doing in the astrals right now? There's a lot of movement going on, and things are aligning in ways that they haven't for quite a while. And I'm just going to say civil war, civil rights, and civil embodiment. That's why I believe that we are being called to embody civility inside of us first, because we're not going to change anything outside of us by fighting anymore. We already fought the wars. And we've already marched for the liberty and the freedom, and we're here in America, and the freedom's a thing, power and control, right? As everything starts to be threatened, are we free? Are we this? Are we that? Where's the dollar? Where's the Bitcoin? Where's the money? Where's the gold bars? All that. When you understand that you on the inside, then God finds you. You find your inner peace. Your consciousness is Christed, and you're able to heal yourself in ways just by believing that, yeah, I took the vaccine, but I also now know that I took it out of ignorance and fear. And I bent the knee at that time. But now, because I have conscious control over my body, and I know that my body's alive and well, and it's listening to me, everything that I took with the hope and desire that I wasn't going to be taken out by COVID. Well, thank God it's a coronavirus, and it was the virus of the crown, and it attacked me with fear. So I've decided with my Christed consciousness to take anything that messenger RNA or whatever, and it's actually helping me. So thank you for that. What man meant for evil, God used for good, kind of thing. That's the return of Christ consciousness. And
I love that for so many reasons. I've been like listening. Like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
Me too. I've got one.
Go
I've got a quickie.
Go on.
All right, so it's so amazing, like pennies dropping and realizations coming. And it's almost like a cheap chuckle. But there is a thing going on in Europe at the moment, which is preparedness. And it's great, isn't it? Because all of these words can be used on many levels and in different contexts. And I've got this preoccupation in the last 24 hours of finding the value in things. And there is a fear message in Europe at the moment of a 72-hour emergency. Prepare for a 72-hour emergency. You talked about 3 days. That's 72 hours. And what is an emergency? The emergence of something after 72 hours. How about that? How about that?
I like that.
Yes.
Well, you were talking about the 7 seals, the 7 chakras. Of course, we've got 7 days of the week. The original planets, astrologically, we spoke about with the sun, moon, Mercury, all the way through to Saturn.
A lot of people's lucky number as well, isn't it?
We've also got the 7 colors of the rainbow. And if you look at a piano, it goes A through to G and it starts again. So it's like the 7 notes. So there is this resonance with 7 that has been, on the 7 days a week, I can't remember if I said that or not, but you know, the resonance of 7 is important in our life. We've organized our life around that. And then the 3 as well. I really like that, the husband and wife and child, or obviously, you know, the religious triune. There are triunes everywhere, like the idea of the 3 days. I love that. I love that so much.
I just want to say the 7 dwarfs. Now I know that sounds
but
silly.
You know what?
However, these are probably
I think all stories
7 archetypes of human behavior, right?
Yeah.
You know, can I really quickly?
Go on.
You know how Revelation, I was talking about Revelation, and turn in your Bibles, like go read it for yourself. But because I like when I quote things, like I don't know what verse and all this stuff, but there are some beautiful verses. First of all, we touched on how Easter was 420. Revelation, gosh, it's either 12:2 or 22:2. I'm not sure. I think it's 22:2. The leaves of the nation, the leaves were used for healing of the nations or something along those lines. So that's in Revelation, the new earth, that the leaves are used for medicine. Something else. So there's a beast. And when the beast comes out, there's 7, I'm going to say it wrong. So again, find it in the Bible, but there's 7 heads, and on 7 heads, I'm going to ruin it. There's 10 kings, but anyway, there's 7, and to each 7, there's 10, right? On each. So what I see that, and each king has a shadow and light. Hear me out. So each chakra in our bodies is being tested against the 10 commandments. Who's your ruler?
Oh.
What's your rulership over your safety? So there shall not be any gods before me. Do I know that my safety comes from within? And we take each commandment and we break the commandments once we understand and know that we don't have to be externally governed. We are internally governed. So as we defeat all 10 kings on each 7 of our inner chakra, that's how, pause, listen to me. Each king has a this and a that, a plus and a minus, a negative and positive. We always talk about duality and polarity on here. Our internal masculine and feminine energies is our kundalini snake at the bottom, the base, and they're coiled. So as we kind of heal our intuition or allow our intuition to be heard, we don't heal it, it's already healed. But as we allow our intuition to come in and as we release overthinking, because logic and our right brain and our brain, our thinking is only a tool to help create our vision, not create stories of the past that continue to keep us downward spiraling. But as we heal the logic and the emotion, the kundalini goes up through every single chakra and we crucify every single king off the throne in our place of sovereignty until we hit the top. Those 2 snakes, we know the medical caduceus I talk about all the time with the snakes and the wings that we use the glyph. Hygeia, right? Don't we love her? Anyway, so once the snakes kiss up in the crown, then our consciousness is Christed, and that's where the wings come on, and we actually ascend. So that's why you physician, heal thyself. Right? New thought spirituality is not necessarily that we're creating a new spirituality. It's that we're living our spirituality by way of our new thinking.
Yes.
We are being new. We're being new about it, aren't we?
Yes. And so revelation, as we are able to allow ourselves to not be afraid of it anymore. And you're not going to go to hell. There's no one being left behind. The only thing leaving anything behind is you leaving yourself behind by believing the fears that slide through your head. Because shocker.
That's even worse though, Tasha. I can't get to blame anyone else if it's down to me.
I'm sorry, but with great power comes great responsibility, and you are a god.
Okay,
you are. No, I know, but like you are a god, and you talk about, am I an ET? Am I an angel? Am I human? You're all of the above because you're conscious, you're sentient. So do not be afraid.
Marvelous.
Anyway,
and you were talking about go get your Bible. What came up for me with that is I've got a Bible upstairs. I think we've a few around the house because that's how the Bible tends to be, doesn't it?
Doesn't it just show up?
Yeah, and I've got a Bible that was given to me by my father, who was not notably a religious man, although he always said, "In my father's house there are many mansions," and he would quote the Bible. But these things that we allow rationality and logic to starve us of are around us, aren't they? I know people who will walk into a church and say, I don't like what the church are doing. And I'm like, okay, where's the value? That's fair enough. But what is the value here? What value can you find here? And this is why these things persist for no obvious reason, but it's somewhere in our hearts, isn't it? In the hearts of our culture, that these holy places mean something to people in a way that they can't put their finger on. That their logical and rational mind can't get a grip on, but why they still leave the Bible in their house somewhere, and why they still pop into the church. I just like it in here, I don't want to come to a service, but I quite like the atmosphere in here. Okay, can we go now? It's that sort of those remnants, isn't it, of holiness, of healedness, if you like, that are just about having people hang on in there with this divine connection that can be reactivated at any time.
Absolutely. I connected with somebody who at the Centers for Spiritual Living that I'm kind of really, really, really getting involved with. One of their higher in charge people actually has a history of paganism and is not Christian at all. And actually kind of has a bone to pick with Christianity. And I get it. That's their story. But she and I connect so well. And I sat on her porch yesterday for 5 hours, and we've already seen the big difference of where we came from, but the similarities of what we believe. And I realized yesterday, and on being on the porch, I say a lot of things because my foundation, my steeping is the Bible. right? That's just how I was raised in the Christian church in the Bible.
Yeah,
But hers is paganism. And so I say a lot of biblical things, and she has a ton of history that it kind of almost validates what I'm saying, but then also spiritual practices that she practiced and her people, her generations practice. It's all the same, like it's puzzle pieces. And we're putting it together. And as long as we can quit trying to prove this right and prove this wrong, or prove this right and prove this wrong, when we understand we all are sharing the same message, the same song through different frequencies is what creates the harmony, right? We're all saying the same message in different languages. Thank you, Tower of Babel, right?
Yes,
That we've all received the same thing in the diaspora. Thank you so much. But now it's time for the dandelion that we blow to bring it's all coming back together. And we see that we are all petals of the same flower, so to speak. So,
well, and funny enough, that the dandelion metaphor came up in my mind a few days ago and I had another sort of image of how like 1 or 2 blocks fall away from the edifice, the solidity that we think we are. And once 2 or 3 fall, then it starts to go exponential. And it's similar with dandelion seeds, isn't it? Until it's all blown away. There's 1 or 2 as the kids try and blow them. And then suddenly they all come off in one great big blast of seeds all over the place. And perhaps that's what's happening for more and more people now, is that linear plodding move towards self-actualization is ramping up into this exponential falling away and realization of what we really are at the moment.
You just brought to mind when you said that Saul and Paul on the road, and he was stopped and the scales fell off his eyes.
Yes, right. They didn't fall off like 1, 2, 3. He's like, bear with me a moment. The scales are just falling from my eyes one by one. It was like,
I have more scales.
That's right. It's like 1 or 2, and then boom, it was, the light was available, wasn't it? The light was there to be seen.
And he was blinded.
Incredible. Now, for people, what's come up once or twice in talking to you, and your incredible example of being, if I can call it that, and your courage and your valor is how might others realize and reach for that, or be available to it, because isn't that what everyone really wants to know? Is like, I'm loving this example and I want to be that for myself. What's your guidance to people from a sort of pastoral point of view, and as a teacher, to have people embrace their courage and valor at this time?
The same thing that I've always said from day one of being on this show is to come back to your breath. Because knowing that you are God, it's really tough on the psyche. How do I do that? Right? I mean, honestly, it's really hard to grapple with that when you've been told forever and ever, amen, that you are not, that you are just XYZ. So whatever your faith tradition, whatever it is, you all have your breath. And so coming back to the breath and coming back to the knowing that you are inherently worthy because of who you are, not necessarily what you believe, but who you are. And as you get and stay with and love simply who you are, you might get to let go of your ideologies and your religion for a while. And you get to learn and love who you actually are and what makes you happy. And then the more happy that you're able to be, the more you're non-reactive. And you have the harder conversations when they come up, but you're not chasing anything outside of yourself, nor are you running away from anything. But you come back to this present moment with conscious awareness. And then you're open and receptive to what should I do next? And you're not seeking a God outside of you. You're knowing that the answer is going to come from within. And that requires a little bit of changing your orientation, your perspective of how you access your soul and your faith and all of that. And the number one way you access it is by feeling good. And as you allow yourself to be in that good feeling state, to not have fear, then you make space for higher information, be it angels or ETs or books or anything to come into your present awareness to help your journey to take that next step. It's evolution. We don't force our evolution. We receive our healing. We receive our growth. We receive our breath. So when we inhale, when we inhale, we're being held. And when we exhale, we're being held. just knowing that, and that quells all fear. And the rest of that's an internal journey. So I could give you ABCD steps and you're going to be mad because I'm telling you what to do. And that's not where we are these days.
Right. And it's interesting what you're saying about not searching like vigorously and actively and looking for trouble, really, because I don't, maybe this is another one that my dad used to say, is sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof. We're going to it's going to come to us, isn't it? You can't be alive and not have come to you what needs to come to you such that you might grow. We don't have to go looking for it, do we? We don't have to be begging for it. It's coming anyway.
Give us this day our daily bread.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
what nourishes us? There are things that grow us, and that's nourishment as well. So absolutely 100%. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think he did say that. It's funny, I never would have thought of my dad as my Bible teacher.
No.
But here he is.
Wisdom teacher. I'm not a Christian, but I'm a Christ one, and I love the Bible to the ends of the earth.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Wow.
That's fabulous. I love, like, going back to the previous episode 77, when you were talking about the vibrations of the sound bowls. The singing bowls, and how you were working with the chakras and the vibration. And obviously words have different vibrations. And like you said, different religions have different vibrations. Like there were 7 houses or 7 churches, for instance. I was interviewing somebody. I think I'm going to play this this episode after this one goes live. He was talking about vibrational healing, and he was talking about pulsed electromagnetic healing, PEMF, like it's the pulse electromagnetic frequencies, and of course I think there's the idea of the electro and the magnetic, and they could be the 2 states going up the caduceus. That we are electromagnetic beings, and it's the integration of it. And so he was talking to me a little bit about the healing and his journey. But what he said was, when we're using electromagnetic frequencies, or you could say also sound frequencies, color frequencies, all these different vibrations, that they open you up to something and they affect you at the heart wall. He mentioned heart walls, like where we put in these little boundaries, we have these hurts, but the different vibrations can heal us and open us up so that we can, and when you were talking about the chakras and how you can, work with the different kings in those chakras and let go of those belief systems that might be holding those in place and reclaim our sovereignty. That's what I was really, what I really love about this time is how loads and loads of different people are doing these different things from different perspectives, and yet it's all coming together, like you say, little puzzle pieces coming together.
It is magic, isn't it?
And I love that you're sharing this magic with us from your perspective. It's really powerful.
Yeah, thank you. And it's so, one way with this heart wall idea, what came to mind was that the heart is a gated community.
Oh yeah,
or a walled village. We live near a medieval village, which is a walled medieval town. And it's
to affirm.
To think. Sorry,
go ahead. No, it's fascinating what you're saying.
It's just interesting to me that the gated community of our hearts can have one inhabitant, or it can have more. You can just keep. It's useful to have boundaries. We recognize this in the time we live in, but we choose where we set the boundary, don't we? So we can have our heart can be a gated community. But
absolutely,
it can have room for more than one in it.
Yes, and boundaries can be a white picket fence, inviting people in and people out. And you can sit on the porch. I think that electro is the masculine polarity, and magnetic is the feminine. Yeah. Absolutely.
I've always found that to be the case. We have to go, don't we?
We are going to have to go. Tasha, thank you so much once again. You're so special. We love you.
Thank you for giving me the space to just flow. I love it. I appreciate it. And it's who I am. So I appreciate it.
Come again soon. Lots of love. All right, ciao.